Right. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Right. The names and attributes of Allah. Right. Right. In Surah in the verse that is the verse Ayatul Kursi, you have many names and attributes in that. Many names and attributes in that. Right? You have many names and attributes on that. Right? But if you go that route, right? If you go that route, now you're going to look into two types of sifat. If you go that route, you're going to look into two types of sifat. Two types of sifat. You got the sifat that are manfiyya and the sifat that are thubutiyya. In Ayatul Kursi, Allah Jalla wa Ala is affirming certain attributes for him, and he is freeing himself and removing himself from certain attributes. In Ayatul Kursi. In the same Ayatul Kursi, inshallah, for our next class, which will be for the same book, Monday. Let us take the verse in Ayatul Kursi, or the verse that is called Ayatul Kursi. And we have two columns. Number one, right, column A. You bring all the attributes that Allah affirmed for himself. Column B, Sulaiman. You bring all the attributes that Allah negate for himself.
Repeat that. Say it again.
In Ayatul Kursi, right? Verse number 255, chapter 2. Right? Take two columns, A and B. And write column A, all the attributes that are in that verse, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirmed for himself. Column B, all the attributes that Allah negated for himself. Attributes. Huh? No, not names, attributes. All the attributes that Allah affirmed for himself. And all the attributes that Allah, on column B, all the attributes that Allah negated for himself. Because in regard to the attributes, Allah affirmed attributes for himself, and he negates certain attributes for himself. So in that same verse, as Sulaiman brought it up, he brought it up, I did not. Very good. Now we're going to go into detail of the verse. Take two parts. First part, A, all the attributes that Allah affirmed for himself. Part B, all the attributes that Allah negated for himself. Because the attributes, they are of two types. Thubutiyya wa manfiyya. Al-Qawaid al-Muthla is a book by Shaykh Salih al-Uthaymin rahimahullah. Very small, but very dense. Allahu Akbar. Is it? Yes, it is. It is translated. But even with the translation, a person to go with that book by himself, like, it's going to be a little difficult.
So we got A, all the attributes Allah affirmed
For himself.
And B, all the attributes Allah
negate for himself. Very good. And that is due on next Monday. We got a whole week, barakallahu feekum, to cover that. So I don't want to hear no stories, inshallah ta'ala, as far as the homework. Hassan, Muhammad, Sulaiman, Abu Ibrahim, Sulaiman, Abu Muhsin, Abdullah, Ismail, Abdullah, Abu Zura, Abu Maryam, Sheikh Sulaiman. Naam. Abdul Haq, Mustafa, Abdul Rahman, Talib, Abu Sufyan, Abu Abdul Rahman, Abu Ibrahim, Abu Aisha. Huh? Yeah, ask me for my homework, I'll give it to you, inshallah. But I'm asking you for your homework. نعم أستاذ حسن. حياك الله.
وأيضا في اسم الله هو دليل توحيد الألوهية. اسم الله معنى المألوه معبود يستحق العبادة.
نعم this is هذا بحيث المعنى. هذا بحيث المعنى. أما بحيث اللفظ لفظ الله هذا من أسماء الله. هذا من أسماء الله. طيب من حيث معنى the word Allah it mean this. طيب but here it deal with as in regard to the word itself. طيب and likewise بارك الله فيكم the word Allah من حيث اللفظ اسم من أسماء الله. Right? اسم من أسماء الله. And this is بارك الله فيكم يعني فيما نعتبر إن شاء الله تعالى. So the Shaykh حفظه الله, and this is in regard to almost finishing up. He's mentioned, inshallah ta'ala, please, this is something that we will all write down, because the marji' is that we all go back to these verses, inshallah ta'ala. Right? If you don't have none to write with, then you are not equipped in this class, barakallah fikum. Because all of this verse Ahmad said, and we will all go back to our own, write it down and look into the mahallu shahid of this verse. So the Shaykh rahimahullah, the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab Al-Wasaabee rahimahullah wa iyah, he mentioned في ستة مواضع في القرآن وهي كما يلي. He said here indeed, as in regard to the adillah, the verses, the proofs and evidence of the rububiyyah, the tawheed al-rububiyyah in the Quran, he says 6 places, sittatu mawadi'. Allah Akbar. There is a book that is called Sittatu Mawadi' min as-Sirah. Sittatu Mawadi' min as-Sirah by Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. And you find that in the Sharh al-Rasail, right? Which is, alhamdulillah, beautiful. And he is dealing with in the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam events, the major events, the 6 major or 6 events, right, of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his seerah, and all of them kulluhum muta'allaqun bit tawheed. All of them are in line with the tawheed. Wa alaikum salam. All of them are in line with the tawheed. Inshallah, perhaps another day we will read it again, because we alhamdulillah covered it with the Sharh of Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan hafizakumullah. 6 places in the Quran. وَهُوَ كَمَا يَلِي. 6 places in the Quran. I'm going to give every single one, inshallah. Bear with me. Right? In 6 places in the Quran. في 6 مواضع في القرآن وهي كما يلي, as to follow. As it is, يعني the order, right? As it is to follow. Number 1 is in Surah Al-Fatiha, verse number, the 2nd verse. Surah Al-Fatiha, the 2nd verse. Surah Al-Fatiha, the 2nd verse. Now please, this is what we all gonna go back and take Surah Al-Fatiha, the 2nd verse, and see as barakallah fikum the place. And he already gave us this verse, which was Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So that is already been given to us. The second walhamdulillah place where it is a proof for the rububiyyah of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala is in Surah Al-An'am. Surah Al-An'am, which is chapter number 6, verse 45. Verse 45. Chapter 6, verse 45. Please correct me in regard to the numbers, because some of no, I'm talking about the numbers of the verse, right? Verse number 45. Verse number 45. Chapter 6, An'am, chapter number 6, verse number 45. Surah Yunus. Surah Yunus, yarhamukallah. Surah Yunus, chapter 10. Hakada. Chapter 10, Surah Yunus, chapter 10, verse number 50, number 10, ma'adhira. Verse number 10. Chapter 10, verse number 10. You got Surah Tawbah, which is number 9. So Yunus will be number 10 and verse number 10. So chapter 10, verse number 10. After you have Surah As-Saffat. Surah As-Saffat that comes after Surah Yasin, which is chapter number 37. Chapter number 37. Surah As-Saffat. Chapter number 37. And you got the verse 182. Verse 182. Verse 182. And this beautiful surah, Surah Zumar, مليء بالتوحيد بأمر التوحيد وإنكار الشرك. الله أكبر. Surah Zumar, chapter number 39, verse number 75. Chapter 39, verse number 75. 39, verse number 75. Chapter 39, verse 35. 75, verse 75. Verse 75. Naam, Surah Al-Ghafir, chapter 40, verse 65. Chapter 40, verse number 65. So all of this verse, barakallahu feekum, it is upon us, inshallah ta'ala, to write it down. To write it down, huh? Al-Ghafir, which one? So, no, he brought the verse. I was just bringing the verse that he didn't, barakallahu feekum, bring the verse, right? But here he brought the verse itself. No. And if you count it, it's six from that we have, because he mentioned here fi sittati mawadi', right, in 6 places, and this was Ghafir will make it 6. Allah yabarik fiqh. So inshallah ta'ala we will have all of this verse written down. Inshallah ta'ala, all of this verse written down. Inshallah ta'ala in Arabic, and also write down the translation, right? The meaning of it, or what is can be translated to mean in English also. So alhamdulillah, it's a good way also to practice our writings, right? It's a good way to practice our writings. 6 verses, right? Simple. So inshallah ta'ala, next Monday everybody will come with 2 things or 3. Number 1, the Ayatul Kursi, the sifat that Allah, that is sifat that are thubutiyya, and the sifat that are manfiyya on one end, A and B. And the second thing that we will do, inshallah, would be to write these verses in Arabic. Tayyib. And then inshallah ta'ala to copy or to go to the Noble Quran. Not to any other translation of the Quran, but rather the Noble Quran, and write down, walhamdulillah, those verses. And underline the mahallu shahid. Underline that which is the point of reference that we're studying. Alhamdulillah, what one will gain in writing those down is that he can memorize those verses easily. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala.